Yes, good afternoon. Today is September the 3rd. It is Thursday. And today we're going to continue our scripting of the 10 top ancient civilizations and their use of art. Today we start out in South America. And we'll begin in South America and we'll also script Sub Saharan Africa. And so, yeah, you might want to put those two headings in there: South America, Sub Saharan Africa, as you do your scripting notes. But first, let's go to the Amazon basin.
The Amazon jungle, a vast, impenetrable ocean of trees covering 2.3 million square miles, 8 times the size of Texas. The rainforest crosses many national boundaries, but most of the Amazon jungle is located in Brazil. Hidden below this.
Although it's worth noting, well, by the way, that is art of a sort. And notice this woman is using this pigment she made to decorate herself. But that the Amazon, which is one of the world's great sources of oxygen, is being depleted as we speak. It's being burned for people to farm. What they find, though, in burning down the trees and planting crops is that actually the Amazon is a very poor, the Amazon region is very, very poor, thin soil. And once they cut down the trees, then, it's very difficult to regrow that.
Last canopy are tribes whose lifestyle dates back 10,000 years. Some of these tribes are still oblivious to the modern world, but eventual contact with the outside usually means a quick end to their culture. This is the front line in the battle between the ancient and the modern.
This is a gold mine. And it used to be an Amazon jungle. And yeah, there's gold in Brazil, but I mean, what's amazing is they will dig all of this ginormous hole. This was once the surface. They'll dig this ginormous hole. That's a road, if you look at that. They'll dig this ginormous hole for only a very small quantity of gold. And then the companies will often leave. When when I left my home in Alabama to go away to college, someone discovered in Alabama. I live in the Appalachian Mountains. Someone discovered that sure enough there is coal, coal, coal in those hills, and they began strip mining all the areas around my home. And for a while, everybody quit their jobs and went and worked for the coal companies and was making killer money. And then, just as quickly, the coal companies they found, they got the coal they wanted, and then suddenly the coal companies went bankrupt. Basically, they just went belly up so they could get out because they didn't want. They were supposed to do the reclamation, put back the trees. And to this very day, it looks a lot like this. It's a scar. Yeah.
Logging and gold mining robbed the Amazonian Indians of their territories and forced them into cities. What Indians remain are usually attached to missionary stations where they live trapped between two worlds. But a few tribes manage to keep hold of their traditional way of life. Visitors who make it here can be rewarded with an unforgettable welcome. But don't worry, it's just friendly goodbye.
I mean, look, what is art?
Home for these people is
Same here. This person has painted his face. This is adornment. This is art.
Usually a village in a clearing containing an extended family of around 180 people. The Yanomami are famous for living in extraordinary structures called...
Yeah, look at this. It's a giant, and this thing is giant. An entire village lives here under this structure.
Life is surprisingly easy. It only takes 4 hours to gather food, so the rest of the day is used to socialize or make hammocks. An Amazonian.
Darn it. I mean, I've seen that twice where the person has extended their lip using some kind of artificial device. It is perceived to be attractive. You know, but once again, who is to judge?
Or as these HAVPA are doing, create headdresses for dances. From their very beginnings here, the lives of the Amazonian Indians have always been inextricably linked to the rhythm of the jungle. Respect for the forest is taught within the tribe. The Waorani give pets to their children so they can learn about animal behavior. There are no toys or schools in the jungle, and though playing with bows and arrows might look dangerous, these games are vital lessons for the future. For centuries, men have done the hunting. With practice, a blowpipe can dart an animal 90 feet up in the canopy. Darts are tipped with curare, a relaxant which stops an animal breathing.
The relaxant that he's talking about, they put in blowpipes, they get from tree frogs. They take and they capture certain tree frogs and extract the poison basically by crushing their skins and put it at the end of their on their darts, and then blow the dart into the body of this monkey, and then basically wait for him to fall down.
Instead of roaming nature through the forest, it quickly slumps dead over a branch. When the hunters return, the food is shared equally among the tribe. Ancient belief says that each plant and animal has a good and an evil spirit. An animal's many or evil spirit may want revenge and kill any humans who have eaten them. So after a meal, a shaman protects the village by entering another world to commune with the good spirits, or Hekula.
Yes, he's ingesting some kind of hallucinatory substance into his nose.
Shaman takes hallucinogenic drugs, which sends him into a trance. He becomes the spirit of a jaguar, tree frog, or anaconda. At number 4 in our countdown of the world's best ancient cultures, a Stone Age universe exists in the Amazon, but it's hard to find a tribe which has not been affected by the modern world. Coming next.
How do I keep messing that up?
At number 3, discover a continent with tens of thousands of tribes, all ancient, all unique, and many easy to visit.
Africa. Now, they'll tell you this later on, but it's something interesting about Africa, and that is perception of color. And in fact, in much of the world, in the Western world, our mindset towards color is actually discriminatory. I mean, for example, when in the Western world we portray something as being good or moral, it is referred to as being white or light or something of that nature. And something that is immoral is dark. But in much of the rest of the world, that's not true. For example, in Africa, the color black is portrayed as being positive because it's the color of rain clouds, because water is so valuable. White, on the other hand, throughout much of the world, is not a good color. White is the color of bleached bones that have been bleached out by the sun, and it's the color of death. In fact, you would never wear white to a wedding. Um, Actually, white is more for funerals. So, yes, quite interesting.
For many people, the first impression of Africa can be of a continent tainted by political strife, but scratch the surface and the real Africa is revealed. A land.
I will say that Africa, though he has to admit here, Africa is the most violent continent on the planet. There's no denying that. I mean, no, not all of Africa, but yeah, Africa. There are lots of countries in current stages of revolution, currently guerrilla warfare going on. It's a country that there's a lot of suffering in. And although, to be honest and totally fair, a lot of that suffering that Africa is now enduring was brought onto it by Europeans in the 19th century. Because the African countries as they exist now were actually created by European countries as colonies. You said, well, what's the big deal about that? Well, in doing so, they drew straight lines, and that straight line separated tribes. It cut through the boundaries of many of the tribes, thereby creating artificial minorities and majorities in many of those countries. If you've ever seen the film Hotel Rwanda, it addresses this very thing. The Dutch and the Dutch actually gave favorable treatment to the Hutus, and the Tutsis, then, who made up the majority of the population. When the Dutch pulled out, the Hutus or the Tutsis claimed revenge.
Filled with rich cultures and
I
ancient
mean, I hope you noticed the facial makeup there and the decorations.
civilizations, many largely unknown to the outside world. This huge continent covers 1/5 of the Earth's land area.
Yeah, and see, that's another thing. If you look at maps, he just told you Africa makes up 1/5 of the world's entire space, and world's in 1/5 of the entire land of the planet is in Africa. Well, any map that you look at doesn't indicate that. If you look at any map, it actually shows the northern hemisphere as being bigger than the southern hemisphere. And that's just not true. The two hemispheres should be displayed equally. But it makes Africa look smaller and the northern hemisphere, like Russia and Canada, look larger.
In southern Africa, you will discover the Bushmen of the Kalahari, who recall the earliest days of human evolution. Their land has probably been populated by humans for 4 million years.
Now look at this. This person is farming.
Many of the plants and animals these hunter-gatherers eat are the ones eaten millions of years ago.
That. Now, you see what this is? This thing he has in his hand, it's an ostrich egg. And it's an old bushman trick to what when there's lots of rainfall, the bushman will take an ostrich egg, fill it with water, and then plug the end of it, and then bury it in the soil. And remember where the place is. Then, when the droughts come, they then come and then pull the egg out and are able to have a drink of water.
The ancient skills of the Bushmen have helped them to survive in a desert where temperatures can reach over 120 degrees and water supplies are virtually non-existent. If you travel north to the heart of Sudan, you'll find a very different kind of ancient heritage. Some of these people are the descendants of the Nubians, who for a time ruled as pharaohs in ancient Egypt. This is a society where, for many millennia, the women have done the work, while the young men put on the daily makeup.
Are you seeing this? Now, this is makeup. None of that scarring is a part of it.
Complex hierarchies exist in the colors and patterns, which are either abstract or mimic dangerous animals like hyenas. Many of the tribes in North Africa depend upon the Tuareg, or blue men.
Tuareg, Tuareg. Should write it down? No. Tuareg. Anybody here ever heard of a Tuareg? It's actually Volkswagen adopted the name and gave it to one of their sports utility vehicles. It's called the Tuareg. It's this tribe that travels through North Africa on camels.
Of the desert, who throughout history have transported salt across the Sahara, delivering their cargo to each of these unique communities. One of them now a World Heritage Site, is located on the outskirts of Timbuktu. Once ancient nomads, the Dodo.
Timbuktu. Did you ever know that such a place exists? It did. Timbuktu does exist. It's in Niger. I'm sorry, and Kathmandu is in Nepal. They both exist.
Decided to settle in this escarpment, carving their homes out of the rock and turning the desert into a flourishing garden. These are a mystical people with an extraordinary cosmology, where animal sacrifices are common and divining the future is interwoven through masked festivals. The Dodon are almost lost to the outside world. In contrast,
all right, now watch this. This is they show you here a young girl being married and brought into a new family. Look how they tease her.
Maasai are the best known of all the African
These are the Maasai, yes, the Maasai, M-A-S-A-I, Maasai, M-A-S-A-I. The Maasai are cattle people. They herd cattle, and actually they protect the cattle from lions. And also, they're going to show you they drink their blood for nourishment.
But for all their contact with tourists and the allure of big city life, they still hold tightly to their unique culture. Their main source of livelihood is their cattle.
Oh, darn it, I just missed that. Just a sec. Back here, yes. Now watch, if I can catch it, they cut open a vein of a cow and mix the blood and the milk and drink it.
Of big city life, they still hold tightly to their unique culture. Their main source of livelihood is their cattle.
Yeah, see that? Yeah, they've cut a vein open and they're pouring blood into a container, which they'll mix with the cow's milk to form a nutritious drink. Yeah, I know. Somewhat disgusting.
And they live almost exclusively on the herd's blood and milk. In return, the Maasai cure the cattle when they are sick and protect them from lions. This is a culture which sees black as the color of life and happiness, since it's dark clouds that bring rain.
See, dark clouds bring rain. Dark is the color of happiness.
That's their beauty by dancing in a way that makes them look taller. And to show their affection, a man throws his hair over the girl of his choice.
Yeah.
As soon as she's married, a girl leaves her village for good. On arrival at her new village, she will go through the symbolic teasing that includes happy mark.
This is the girl. She's just been married. She's brought into a new family. That is dung. Yeah. It's like a symbolic hazing ritual.
Cattle dung placed on her head. Africa may be the best location to go on an ancient cultural safari, but modern civilization, with all its enticements, is always close by. Africa wins the spot of number 3 in our countdown. Our next adventure, at number 2, an island where visitors can see ancient lives even less tainted by the modern world. Here, the old ways are too strong to be conquered.
And we will pick that up when we return on Friday. Yes, we will. And so, yes, please submit that in Canvas. It's worth 20 points. It's easy 20 points for you to pick up. So, yes. Turn that off. Come on. There we go. Almost.